So we wanted to just get some candid side of your growth outside. So we just wanted to understand what inspired you to come into business from being from a non-business family. How did you come into the whole business arena?
I think it was more to do with education than business. I really wanted to be in education to teach people, because a lot of my background, a lot of my growth, a lot of what you see here has come because of education that was given to me very early, whether it's the IIT days or much later postgraduate. So wanted to do and be in education to teach people to get the same advantage that I got from education, and that transformed into a business.
So in this segment, sir, Gibran will be talking about the serious part. I'll be getting more candid. So you told that you are an athlete, you run long distances. What's your fastest half marathon timing?
I think the fastest half is about 125 minutes.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, sir.
And what's the distance?
21 kilometers.
21 kilometers. Okay. So in regards with your business journey, what has been your most inspiring or the most challenging moment which not many people know you came across, which will help us understand how we can actually achieve a similar growth story?
Actually, I will sort of put it in a way to tell people something very different from what you are asking me. Right? So when people start businesses, today I'm in a business, one of the businesses we are growing through acquisitions. So we are actually acquiring businesses from first-time entrepreneurs. And some of them have qualms whether they want to sell. They've been the lord of everything that they have done so far. Now it becomes part of a larger group, reporting. It's not very easy for an entrepreneur to adjust to. So there was a time in my life when I sold my first business, which was under the brand of SSI Ltd. We grew it very big and we sold. And for me, I was never attached to a particular brand or business. I was very clear that I will be in business, but I could be in any business. So when I actually sold it, and it came out on the Economic Times that we had sold and all of that, and then next day morning, my son actually asked me, he said, "Appa, you sold SSI, but I thought it was a family business. I thought I will be the one who will run this later." And that's when it hit me that people in the family too could potentially get attached to it if it has been within the family for a much longer time. Right? But it is also my view of having sold a business. So today when I buy businesses from first-time entrepreneurs, it makes it work because I actually understand. And I actually tell them, I have been in your position and I have sold my business. This is what I went through. And these are things I'm doing to make your life easy because I've been there in exactly where you are today. But I think the larger thing that I wanted to convey is in any business that you start, you need to know, at least as a first-time entrepreneur, I'm not talking for people who have been in business for generations, right? As a first-time entrepreneur, this is the first business you build, this is the first wealth you create. The journey is fantastic, exciting, but end of the day, you need to have something to show, something to fall back upon. So I always tell people, know when you have to get off this train. And that is very, very important. You need to know when you get off that train.
And how do you highlight that when do you have to get out of the train? I mean, that's the most crucial and the most, I would say, tricky part of it. Because you get so attached, you don't know when is the exact time to get there to detach.
I think, something that's very simple, but sometimes people don't understand that it is so profound. You can only sell when there is somebody to buy. Right? It might seem simple, but it is very profound. You might want to sell because you think you have reached that age when you want to go retire, you want to sit back, relax, but there needs to be a buyer. So the best time to sell is when there is a buyer.
Beautiful. Right. So coming back to your running, sir, you are a 6-star marathon finisher. So do you aspire to run in Comrades one day? If so, when?
So my aspiration is to do a 100K run. There is a place where it's possible to run. I don't like doing, 10 times 10 kilometers going round and round. Right. I like to do a long one. So it's new, it's very different. So far I have done 62K.
Wow.
That's
the longest you've done.
Aspiration is to do 100.
Right.
Hopefully I'll find the place to.
Comrades is the toughest human running marathon that happens in Africa.
I know.
Yeah, it's a 145 kilometer run.
So there are many different types of runs that are there, right? So I was once in a place in France for a holiday, and it was in deep winter. So I had a guide who sort of came along, took us on a cycling tour and all that. So I was sort of talking to him, you're a guide, but what do you do otherwise. So he's actually a runner who represents France in the Olympics.
Wow.
And it was downtime for him in winter, so he was sort of doing, some guide, and, where somebody is interested, he works with them. So he was telling me he does a run up the Alps.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a 42K marathon. And I'm sure that it will be enormously challenging, and he looks at that he can actually do it. Right? So there is a run, and I think which is done in the US, and it's run in a desert. Very similar to Comrades.
Yes.
Very similar.
So in your journey, in terms of your selling as well as your acquiring new businesses, what is that one thing that an investor looks out for in the businesses to acquire them? Especially someone of your caliber, who comes with a proper combination of cultural traditions as well as Western traditions.
So, that's a very interesting question. So, before I evaluate business, I understand the sector. So otherwise, usually businesses will talk about saying, this is my target segment, it's growing at this speed, it's 5 billion sized, we are market share. So we do all that homework. So we don't buy businesses that come to us. We actually go out, seek a business to buy, and most often that person is not even contemplating selling when we talk to him. That for me is the best to buy. When the person is not even thinking of selling, which means he's deeply involved, he wants to build it big, that's the business to buy.
Then how do you make them sell, sir? That's the whole...
I think people do understand the value we bring. So I'll just give an example of one of the businesses we bought, right? It's pretty iconic in the western part of India, which is under the brand of J.K. Shah Classes, which is number one in India for CA coaching.
Oh, okay.
Trains over 100,000 people every year, very profitable business. The person who runs it is called J.K. Shah, of course. It's called J.K. Shah Classes. So it took me 1 year to understand him as a person. Wow. Because for me, if there's no alignment of value systems, alignment of principles, alignment on vision, family values, then I won't do it. Whatever the size of the business, I won't. Because know for a fact that any business you buy, forget any business you run, doesn't always go up. Right? You have your tough times, then it grows. You have your tough times, then it grows. And when you hit those tough times, if you are fully aligned in terms of vision and where you are going, it just makes it so easy. If you are going to work with somebody whom you don't see eye to eye, the first drop of a difference, you have a problem. Right? So I never touch those businesses. There has to be alignment of vision. And I look for, family values. So there is a business I remember I met in Rajasthan. Right? So I generally go home, have dinner with them, dinner with the family, meet parents, meet his kids. I do a lot of those. So I was very amazed that this person had built a house for his younger brother with a common connecting corridor, and his father and mother stay with him, and he takes their blessings morning and evening. And for me, instantly loved the business that he was doing. Because, somebody with that alignment ought to have built a great business. Of course, we do diligence, we get an Ernst & Young, do all of, ensure we tick the boxes. But people who are not looking at selling are great businesses to buy.
That's a fabulous...
Yes. So, today, after the session, our friend Mr. Mohan pointed out very rightly, for the first time we heard a completely different perspective of running. All these when we were thinking about health, fitness and all those things. And you brilliantly brought about the point of me time. When did you figure that running is giving you your me time?
I think a couple of things, right? First is, I travel quite a bit. I used to travel, now I started traveling again and travel quite a bit. Most of the places I go, they don't have a proper gym in the hotel. Even if there is a gym, he says we'll open at 7 o'clock. I usually go to office at 8, so I have no time to do. Even if it's there, I don't know what is there. It's tough for me to plan. So for me, early on, the realization was running was the best because all I need is a pair of shoes.
Right.
And I could just go running anywhere. So I started running very early on. So for instance, if I go to Minneapolis, we used to have an office there. So I go early and then I get up early in the morning. There's usually a jet lag, so I need to sort of get over it. So running also helps. But most importantly, as I start running, say at 5 o'clock, so 5 to 7 I run, those 2 hours, I'm able to actually plan what I want to do for that day very well. because there's absolutely nobody. Usually it's a pin drop silence. Nobody's awake, so it's not somebody will call you. There's nothing. So you could just plan for your day. And running, unlike many of the other exercises, like, if you do a deadlift, you got to watch your core, watch your back, you got to work your posture, lots of things are important. Once you run for some time, the body works, it just runs.
Right.
You don't need anything. And all you need is a long straight road. So you don't even have to think, right? So when I run here in Chennai, I run in one of the universities. I have marked circuits, I keep running. If you guys know Tamil, right? And தமிழில் சொல்லுவாங்க, அதாவது ஊர்லேருந்து மாடு வண்டியை பூட்டி அவன் ஏறி படுத்துப்பான் நைட்டு 10 மணிக்கு. காலையில் 6 மணி ஆனால் அது இங்கே நிற்கும். அவன் தூங்கியே போயிடுவான். அது பாட்டுக்கு போகும். So when I run here in the morning, sometimes I do a 3.5 hour run. I don't even look at where I am running. Body keeps running. It knows the circuit. It just keeps running. At the end of 3 hours, I just look at my watch, okay, we are done. I go. So that allows me also time to think, because I don't have to think where I am running or how I am running. It just keeps going.
That's your meditation time, practically.
Absolutely, yes.
Sir, in regards with something out of business, or more or less inside the business, what was the best 1 or 2 advices you received in your entire business journey? Number 1. And number 2, if you have to today look back and acknowledge someone or credit someone as your mentor or your supporter, who would you do?
I think I'll come to the second part first. I was just telling on stage, I had very pretty humble beginnings. So my father studied till 11th. My mom had studied till 5th. My biggest backer, my biggest learning, my biggest teacher has only been my mom. Because, of course, she couldn't teach me physics, chemistry, math, she couldn't teach me all that. But she taught me life.
Wow.
I mean, if I should look at somebody who had that absolute, resolute, absolute faith, those are traits I learned from my mother. So, I used to get up early in the morning to study because there's an exam on that day, all of that. And obviously she doesn't know what I'm reading, but she absolutely knew that I had to read to do it. So she will get up at 3:30 in the morning, make me some coffee, and she will give me company while I read for the next 4 hours. She doesn't know what I'm reading, but she'll be with me saying, "Padi, concentrate, tungada,
Focus, yeah.
Study, focus." So she was. So after I joined IIT, so I tried to be a day scholar because it's in Chennai, but of course it didn't work. So, and I obviously have never traveled much away from home. I mean, when I went abroad, that was my first flight. I've never even done a domestic flight. I've always been in Chennai, in and around, always. Obviously, falling homesick is very easy, right? Even if I go just to Adyar, you start feeling homesick. So she will come on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, pack food from home, and it's like a 3 flight up. She will come carrying it. There were no lifts in IITs, many of the hostels even today. So she would bring it, keep it. So when I come from classes, she will set right my room, do all of that with absolute faith and backing. So she's been my biggest teacher, biggest backer, biggest fan, supporter, investor in life. Things that I have learnt in business, I think I told you this before. You need to know when to get off the train, because sometimes you can get sucked into it too deep. I remember an instance when my mom was not doing very well, and I had sort of rushed to the hospital. This was in the US. I had to rush to the hospital. It was like 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning. I had to go. At that time we were listed, we were a very large organization. We were in the Morgan Stanley Index and, all of that. So guys from Merrill Lynch had set up a conference call with about 20 investors. This was after 9/11. So the markets were very crazy. People were very anxious. What's happening to the stock markets? Things were falling. It was pretty bad. And so they had set up this call to all my top 25 investors to calm them down. So all, you name the big guys, they were all on the call. And I got a call from the hospital saying, there's something wrong with your mom, you need to come. So I was literally in the US, speeding in San Francisco, going to the hotel, ensuring I don't get caught from the cops. And then this guy calls saying, sir, are you ready to take this call? And I said, I am in a position where I might not be able to. So he said, sir, markets are very, very bad. Lehman Brothers just went down. This is happening. So you should take this call. Otherwise, people will become very, very jittery. So I actually took a 1-hour call while driving down with so many thoughts in my mind. That's when I took the decision to sell. And subsequently, we sold it 3 years later. You can't just sell it. Because it's a business, there are people, so you need to ensure transition is smooth, it's given to somebody who is bigger, better, stronger. So the business and the people continue to move, but it sort of taught me that lesson, you need to know when to get off that train, because the train never stops. Right?
You're right. Great. I would like to add this one last question. I know you're short of time, but I just cannot stop myself. How do you build that core team to establish a successful company?
So a lot of people, the core team that I have, there are, of course, you need to be open to taking new people, right? You need to take people the way they are. They come in different colors, flavors, views, quaint ideas, thoughts, mannerisms. So you just accept everybody. But it also, how do you hold on to people who come, right? It's not about salary. It's not about incentives. It's not about pay package, stock options, all of that we do. That doesn't hold people because all it requires is the next guy to give a bigger paycheck, bigger stock option, bigger incentives, and they're gone, right? That can't be the relationship, though that might be the way they start, because they don't know you, so they negotiate their pay package, all of that is fine. But after that, what happens, right? So there are people who take their titles to heart, saying, I am the CEO, I am the chairman of the business, and I don't like such people. I absolutely don't like. I don't like these positions, type of people attaching to it. My view is I always tell people, if somebody walks to your room, somebody interacts with you, when they go after that, they should look back saying, I actually learned something from this. I actually learned something from my interaction, right? Then they keep coming back to you, right? They actually start respecting that interaction, because every time they come with an issue, you actually solve it for them in a way they understand, and you leave behind a long-term value that they can apply elsewhere. They actually learned something, right? Over a period, it becomes respect. And that respect should logically become reporting. Your reporting cannot happen because I am the CEO and all of you guys report to me. If you build relationships that way, you will never build a core team ever in your life. People have to respect you. So there are people who work with me. There's a person who just joined. He was head of product for Pearson's in India. He started life with me. I taught him the basics of what it means to develop content and all that. This was 25 years, 30 years ago. Of course, when I sold, he also a few years later moved on, grew significantly in his life to head such a senior position. And after I started the business and he heard about it, he said, sir, tell me when you want me to join.
Wow.
No salary negotiation, no this, no that. Absolutely nothing. Because if you have built such relationships, people love to work with you because they continue to learn, they continue to respect. Then it is easy. Then everything becomes easy. And every businesses that I buy are proprietary businesses. First time entrepreneurs, they have run it like that, own. And this is something I inculcate in them. So I was in Trivandrum where we had actually bought a business. So I did a town hall with all the employees. Of course, along with the promoters, all of them. Sometimes I found some businesses where the promoter sort of holds himself above everybody else. He sort of, like he walks to the room, everybody has to get up. Everybody has to say, and they expect all of that. So without telling him he shouldn't do it, so I was in a town hall meeting with everybody, including the drivers. I said, everybody come. All of you are part of my team now. And I had to tell them, if you have any issues, please talk to me. Or if you can't reach him, talk to me. And that means 24/7. And I said, this business is not about hierarchies. I don't believe. All of you can talk to me. The only thing is my mailbox becomes full, so replies start taking longer and longer. But you will get a reply and I will look at it. So having these titles, positions, don't work. I don't like it at all.
Thank you so much, sir.
Great. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed
Thank you
it.
so much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.